Oh yeah, one more small video. I was going to do Scriptable Objects and PlayMaker together. So Scriptable Objects are a beautiful way. They don't take up memory and stuff like that for the scene. Like they're just data containers, and they can't exist in your scene. It's kind of just a collection of data. So there's numerous ways to obviously use them, and I thought, well, what if we did a thing where we make scriptable objects, and to boot, make custom actions to access our scriptable objects. So I figured, yeah, let's do it. So I think ultimately right now, I think we'll make a I don't know, like a bunch of items on the ground. Okay, so first thing we need to do is create a scriptable object. So we're going to call this, I don't know, it's just a C# here. And I'm going to open it. And if you really don't know how to script, that's fine. They're a very simple thing, and we're not doing any functions or anything in that, right? So a mono behavior, and if you don't know what a mono behavior is, like if I create an empty, this transform is a component, right? And a rigid body, is a component, and a mono behavior is also just a component. It's a thing on it, right? So what do I have here, right? Well, I mean, even rigid body, no, I can't access those. It's all locked up and hidden. So what can we access? Well, I guess we'll just look at scripts. I mean, I got tons of stuff in here. This is my little demo project, so it's just loaded full of weird stuff in here. Well, anyways, I mean, a mono behavior is just a component, just the same as all the rest of these things. So a scriptable object is not a mono behavior, so we need to get rid of this. This line here is kind of what this guy is and feeds from. So we are a scriptable object, just like that. And this little part is just, and you can copy this from the net and just change names or whatever. I mean, it's this part here is just I'll explain it here in a minute. Let's just think of some random words. And okay, so what this part does here, this little line here, is it creates an asset menu. So it's up here, and it uses these for your files, right? So that'll pop up here when we're done, so that you can actually create this thing, because they don't exist in scene, so you have to create them as assets. So let's do a public string and call this item name, and let's do public sprite, do an icon. That's probably really all we need for now, for demo purposes. I mean, you could go on all sorts of stuff, right? So now I'm just going to save that, right? But that's all there is to the scriptables, right? Now you can get farther into those things if you want to play with coding. That's sky's the limit, right? So I made that. Unity doesn't like how I have my editor this way, but so if I now go assets, create, there's that pickup. So I created it, and here's our demo item, right? And I can call this, I don't know, box, and it has a name and an icon. So this is our box, and we'll give it an icon of some boxy looking thing. And then let's create another one and call this diamond, because I noticed we had a diamond in here. So we'll use that. So here's two things. So we want more or less a way to access these. So there's one extra step. We don't have to do this part, but I'll show you it in case you want to go this far, and it kind of makes life a little easier. Is if I go to create a new custom variable type definition, and the name is our item, sure, and the type is what these things are, demo items, like that. So if I now put an FSM on this guy and I go variables, we have our item. Right there. Doesn't do anything, there's nothing there, but it's now part of this drop down list. So like I said, you don't have to do that part. It's nice to work with. So what we need is, we have in here, there is a sprite and a string, right? So let's go PlayMaker and go tools, custom action, and let's say action name is get item, get demo item info, and we'll put that into a custom category of demo stuff. So now we have our little action here. And once it opens, so this is an action. So in this little area above this enter, but below this is where we can throw our variables. So I can say a public, but we don't use strings. No, I mean, you can put a string, but we don't want to use those in FSMs. But I can say FSM string, and we'll call this, say, item name, and we'll say public. Now there is no like FSM sprite, it doesn't exist, but we can say FSM object, and then above that we can add tags to things by putting those little blocks in. And you can, like, for example, if you wanted I don't know, say a float, call it whatever, you could add a tag saying slider, it has a float slider, and we're going to go from 0 to 5. Oh, 0 to 5. And now you wouldn't have the normal slot there. You would actually have a slider value. But that's not what we're doing. So we have an FSM object, right? So that's supposed to be inside. Variable type sprite. It is variable type. Could have sworn it's just written like that. Forget how that tag goes. This is also one of the really nice things is you can actually go into like we'll say audio, right? Oh, they have action target, audio clip, audio source. Check for component. This thing right here, right? Object type. So that's what I had. I had variable type. Alright, so it's not an audio clip, it's a sprite. Object type, type of sprite, this thing. So we could do this every frame, or we could just do this on a call. And I'll probably just do it on a call. So the other thing we have is a public FSM object again, and we're going to say item reference, and we're going to put another one of these tags, which is object type of, only this time we want demo items, and that's our item reference. So here on enter, so when we enter in the state, this is the logic we want to have happen. And all we're going to do is item name dot value, and you got to do these dot values when you're dealing with the FSMs, because if you dealt with a string, then this string equals whatever, right? And you're talking about what this thing equals. But when you're dealing with the FSM like string, you can't say item name equals, because you're talking about the FSM itself. So you have to say like, okay, the FSM variable's value is equal to item reference dot name. Is that what we called it? We just called it name? Item name. Should be item name. Why is that not there? And item reference dot Oh, right. See, now I literally just finished explaining with the whole sprites and the values, and item reference is our object, but again, it's an FSM object, not an object. So we need the dot value, dot item. Get out of the way. So it still doesn't have our stuff. So let's just go like this. This is how you cast. You say, hey, you know what? You are this. And it still is being a pain. Alright, so var our object equals item reference dot value. Now let's go here and go our object dot demo items. Our object. Why is that? Nope. Nope. Why is that being silly? Okay, here, just gonna give me 1 second here. Alright, so just playing around with the different castings. Could have sworn I've done this a different way. So, I didn't change any of this. I'm playing with spaces while I was sitting there thinking. So all I did is we make a var, and this is just kind of like a general variable. I'm just going to call it temp equals item reference dot value, and then down here we need to kind of cast that over. So we need our this guy, the name of that script, right? So it's blue or green, teal, whatever. So that's kind of a type of variable. So I'm going to say our item. Now that equals this guy as a demo items. There we go. Now item name dot value equals our item dot item name. Then item icon dot value equals our item dot icon. And that should be it. Oh, hide that there. So now, if we go into here, so we have our little variable here we can use, but more importantly, we have, oh man, what did we name that category? Oh, demo stuff, right? We have get demo item. So here now we have item name, and we have the icon, and we have our reference. Okay, so we have now have an action that can work. So what we'll do is we're going to create an empty. This is going to be our item, and he can sit up on the plane with us, and we are going to give him a, I don't know, we'll say a sphere collider trigger, and we're going to give him a model. Let's see if I have a bag model. Prefab punching bag, it might be interesting. That's a vector thing. And body bags. Sandbags, trash bags, sleeping bags. Oh, sandbag wins. Alright, so the sandbag, I'm going to get rid of that collider. I'm just going to have this one. He's a trigger. I probably should actually give him a collider. Okay, well, I'll put a normal box collider. We don't need a mesh collider on them. Let's expand that a bit. So now we have this thing. So this guy needs to have an FSM, and he's going to have our item, and we're going to stick them over here. And that is it. So the other, I think, well, I should probably put these things on different layers. Let's put this thing on, I don't know, iterations layer, sure. So now let's go to prefab him. So this is our item, right? So when we want to pick things up or do whatever, we can just spawn a whole whack of these. They don't have anything, they don't do anything. But now I can turn around and be like, hey, you are this, right? And I can duplicate this guy and say, you are this one, right? So we only got the one prefab, and there's really nothing to him, but the data he's going to have is in these, which doesn't exist in our scene. So now let's utilize our action that we painstakingly made and create, let's do a text, and actually no, even better, let's, so I was thinking of just mousing over them, but instead let's do something a little funner, I think. So let's do an item display, and inside this guy let's put a text element and a image. I'm going to go 2D real quick. Alright, so we're going to have a text element, and I'm just going to stick that off to the side here. This guy can go off to the side here. And I'm going to expand him out a bit. I might even stick him in the middle. That's probably good. So this guy is going to have two variables, the text and the image. And I'm just going to literally just drag them in like that and prefab him. And I'm going to delete that. So now I'm going to make an FSM over here. And he is going to have a reference to our item display that we just made. And now we can create stuff. So let's say, that would be a fun way to do this. Okay, where are our items? Our items are here. Let's create a mock player. Let's even tag them as player. Oh, that was quick. Couldn't do that twice. So this is our player. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put an FSM on this guy, and he is going to overlap sphere. And the radius is going to be 8, just because. And we need an array, game objects. Oh, don't include owner. And this is only going to be on layer of that guy. So we have found stuff. So we're going to do stuff. So what we're going to do is we also need, so this is on our player. I'm just going to drag him out and cheat there a little bit. So I have a reference to our canvas. So array get next, and I'm going to go through our items, and we're going to loop, and we're going to be done, and our current position in the array. So we're going to loop, and we are going to, actually, I'm going to put a reference. I'm just going to do that. Okay. I am going to create no, I don't know if I want to do that, because I'll just keep creating them. Actually, yeah, you know what? Let's not do an overlap sphere cast. Or yeah, you know what? We could. Here, let's do it this way. Set a start state. Let's get button down. And then we'll do the overlap sphere cast. So this will be kind of like a pulsing system. So, all right. So we're going to loop. We're going to create an item display, and the parent is going to be canvas. All right. So this is current item. No, I spelled that poorly. We also need to get position of the current. So as we're iterating through, we're gonna go through our list if we've hit anything, and we're gonna get the position of the current. And then I am going to world to screen point camera. I'll cheat for that too. Oh. So the world position is item position, and I never have good luck with this variable. But these ones seem to work fine for me. I don't know why. I haven't looked into that one. So now we have that. So now set vector, no, set position. Let's just do a set position. So we've created the object. So we've gotten the position of the thing on the ground. We've created our thingamabobber. We're going to set position of the thingamabobber. And yeah, that was weird. The x is going to be x, y, space. I think that should be world. If it screws up, we'll switch it over. Oh, okay, yeah, and then we should probably actually put some data into it. So the other thing is we need to get FSM game object. We need two of those. We need from the current and from the current. I'm actually just going to cheat so I can get that. Item display. Those two have game objects into them, right? Yeah. Image and text. Game objects. Stupid thing doesn't want to show up. So item display, so on the current. We have image, item image, text, item text. All right, so we create one of those, putting it in the world. We're getting its references to its stuff. The other thing we need to do is get FSM object. So from these things that we're actually going to hit, the item, and we are going to store that into a variable. That's current. Oh yeah, he's not current. He's, how do we name this thing? Current item. Spelled weird with a weird U. So he's off the current, but this guy's off that thing. So is he. Now we UI text at text and sprite. One of these I have issues with, the other one I don't. So let's see if I chose the right one. So this guy, item image, is going to be nothing yet. And item text is going to be nothing yet. Because we need to use our action that we have so diligently made. Down here. So we're going to do that, right? Because he is getting that object. We are using that as a reference. We should almost have put that at the top, eh? So this is data name, data icon. So use data icon, you use data name. And finish and go back. And when you're done, you might as well just finish and go back here and wait for another thing. Alright, I think I'm missing something, but let's go check. Oh, yeah, that was it. Take the camera, move them over here. So, I don't want full screen so we can see what we're doing. Now I take them over, and if I hit a button, I somehow destroyed those things, and I've created those. So it created the things. Where did these? Oh, I set the position of those. Okay, whoops, well that's one mistake. And this guy, he's the right one, and he's the right one, but their positions are messed up. So, what did we do? We get position of the current, right? Because that's what we're doing. And the world position, we're going to get item position. So that's all right. We're going to create item display as this is our current item. Set position of, okay, so that's where we messed up. That guy needs to go alright, let's move back over here. Let's move over here, click, and we have our big ugly things. So let's shrink those. Alright, so we come over. Oh, that's a little too small now. Right, so I mean, we could have put a background to them, but it kind of gives you an idea. Now we could say these things have a trigger, right? So I could now take this guy, and if we had it, we could go pick this thing up and use that same reference and destroy this thing, but take the data and add it to our, I don't know, our inventory or our ammo, right? But now, I mean, we could make all sorts of stuff. Really, it doesn't matter. Like, you can just, you know, the only thing you need is an item. Stick an item over there. It just wants a definition now. Okay, well, you're random stuff, you know. And now I move him over. Oh, what do we have here? We have some sort of reference issue. Something broke on us. Oh, I think it was why is that? Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. My bad. I don't know why that didn't screw up last time. So this is this is trying to get this data and put any checks in to see it to make it you know, fail better. It just throws a red error. But I mean, it was sitting there and it was like, hey, where's my item? You're telling me to get an item. There's no item here, right? So there's broken stuff. Go over here. I click. Oh, there's this one, right? And obviously, there's piles of stuff you could do with that. But like I said, I mean, you could make all the items you want. Little custom actions like that. I mean, it wasn't too bad. And you can do this type of stuff. And now you have all these items, and they're literally just a model, a placeholder. That's it, right? And if you wanted to do a trigger and pick them up, I mean, it's really not hard to turn around and be like, oh, rigid body, add an FSM, do a trigger event like that, on trigger enter with tag. What are these things called? They're not called anything. Well, we should probably do something about that. Let's call them, I don't know, enemies. They're not enemies, but that's what we're going to use. Why? Who knows? So we've entered something. So just the same as this one here, right? Where we get all this data. I could literally copy this whole state, come down here, paste this state, get rid of that thing, right? Because it's obviously it's not doing the current, it's doing the hit object, because that's what we named it here. So from the hit object, we want this item. We're not doing this stuff. We're going to get this from current item info. That one's fine. We don't need this stuff. And well, we can just leave it like that. And then you could, if these had values or whatever, add them into your thing and then destroy it, right? Like I could, well, we won't bother destroying it, but right. But I mean, that's as easy as, we hit this, we move them over here. I take the guy and I push him in here. If I look now, it's triggered it, the item, our box, the icon, and the info. Like it's got everything there. That's our box. Like, so it's taking the data, right? So I mean, if this had value, like maybe it's money or maybe it's a weapon, you would take that stuff, you can now add it to your character and then destroy the hit object, and boom, you got this. All of a sudden now you're collecting things, you have things popping up in your inventory, you got all this stuff, and it's all coming from a few variables on this and your own custom action for getting the data, right? Like you don't really need to set data in scriptable objects. Like they're just a data container, like a starting point. But there is a lot more that they can do, but I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to bury you guys with that type of fun stuff. But scriptable objects are a powerful tool, no doubt, and that's kind of how you can integrate them with PlayMaker. Alright, talk to you guys in the next video.